So this is how I'm going to think through my narrative and for my literacy essay. So I have my thesis that I made earlier, exposing children to books at a young age. Does increase comprehension and interest. In the books, resulting in well-rounded and well-educated children. So this is what I have for my other assignments. I think I'll just probably get rid of this and put increases and change books to literature so it can cover more and relate back to the discourses and understanding literature. And maybe change children to citizens or something so it can relate past childhood, which I can then use my childhood story to relate to how I grew up. So it's like the children read the books and grow up, so I read the books and had my literacy narrative, and that helped me grow up into my discourse community. So just to recap the literacy narrative that I am going to use. Well, I'll probably have some sort of intro to start, and then have the thesis at the end of the first paragraph, and then jump right into the literacy narrative. Right, just so how my senior class story of writing my college essay. And just like the struggles I had writing that and didn't know what to write about for that. And what I eventually did, which I was pretty proud of. I mostly have it already written from the last exercise with pretty good amount of detail, so and then maybe add something to that later, but then go into the discourse community that I chose. Which is my family one, which is the primary one as well, which Guy talks about. So I chose to write about this family and then just talk about how I am in that and my experience, which can then lead to using Guy as a source, because his definition of literacy is controlling the secondary discourse use of language. But then you have to understand what the first one is, which is your immediate family, like where you exactly grew up or were born into this family. So it is like as well as the culture of your family and it's an oral discourse, so mostly spoken. You don't exactly write things to your family, so anything else is secondary, which builds off the primary, which I can tie back to my experience with the discourse. And I guess I could add some examples of my secondary discourse as well in a school setting, and tie that back to how it developed and grew in a positive way because my family discourse, just my family, encouraged me, tying back to the literative, to read and do things in that nature. So it all kind of ties back together, because since they did that, I was able to be a well-rounded and well-educated person by most standards. And for the extra source where I can tie this in, well, first, the source that I found shows that reading has been linked to positive language literacy, numeracy, and cognitive development. Which just ultimately supports the thesis that having children read, even if they don't like to, just building that habit is good for even more than just literacy and reading skills, but just their cognitive development and numeracy, so like math skills or anything, and just language, which is of course important for the discourses and developing those secondary discourses. And then I guess I'll also find one from the class website. And just finish up with concluding it. Just re-emphasizing the points and I guess based on other people's comments, I would add how I read more at a young age in my narrative. And then overall, people just said to connect experience and my evidence. So connect the narrative plus the evidence, which I can find more of.